we delivered more than 18 1K day stadiums in 1 year. We see so many buildings that are made 15 years ago, but they look like they're made 40 years ago. These two buildings, even after the next 20-25 years, will look fresh as new.
How do you balance loyalty with, yes, I definitely want someone smart, so someone dumb who's loyal is not good for business because you have a fiduciary duty towards Dosti, and then building systems which obviously your legacy team is going to protest. How do you step into such big shoes where your dad's taken Dosti to a new level? I always think of it as an Abhishek Bachchan, Amitabh Bachchan situation. Like no matter what he does, he's compared to Amitabh Bachchan and it's never enough.
If we were to talk to bankers in today's times and ask them how many Bombay developers would you trust with your money in more than 4 digits, you can count on their fingertips. Pre-RERA, so a developer was defined in a survey by someone who's selling more than 50 flats a year, and that count maybe was 4,000 or 4,500.
Yeah.
Post-RERA, that count of developers who are doing more than 50 flats a year in terms of transactions came down to 800.
Hello and welcome to the NJ show. This is your host Nukul Jain. I am partially awake but also excited because I have with me Anuj here. Anuj will introduce himself, of course, but I think he's best introduced as the acting CEO of Dosti, part-time athlete for sure, and also a UPenn grad. So I'm very excited to have you, Anuj. Are you looking forward to the conversation? Are you awake?
Definitely, it's early for me as well, but wouldn't do anything to have a podcast at this hour or so. But thanks a lot for inviting me and having me in the NJ show. So pleasure to be there and looking forward to going through all the questions along with you and having a frank conversation on business, life, sports and so on.
I am very excited for this. More so because I know you as a very candid person, which is very rare in the industry that you work in. But before we jump into your story, I wanted to quickly introduce Dosti to our audiences and also hear from you a bit about the company. From what I have researched and I have seen, because I'm a Mumbaikar, Dosti is one of the prime real estate players here in the Mumbai metropolitan region, and it's been here for more than 4 decades. Obviously a legacy family business that's getting more and more aggressive over the years. I see that you've taken over from first probably started by your grandfather and then your father, Deepak Goradia, and now obviously you've taken over. Before you jump into your story, tell us a bit about Dosti and then we can dive into the rest of it.
Sure. So we had formed Dosti by my grandfather. In fact, he didn't even call it Dosti at that point in time. He used to always like the word friendship and relationship and trust. Mm-hmm. So he used to use the word Maitri in place of Dosti, having the same meaning, because Maitri means friendship in Gujarati, Dosti, friendship in Hindi. And he began in the early 1970s, where he would do around one building every 3 to 4 years. And he would work in a manner that the buildings made in Thane would come under Dosti brand. The buildings made in Mumbai would come under the Maitri brand. And in the early 1980s is when my father, his cousin brother, and one other partner, who's today a partner of the company, joined. And that's when they had a fire in them to grow the business and to expand from doing one project at one time to doing 4 to 5 projects in one go. And more than that, from doing a standalone building to creating large layouts or clusters where you're able to offer your customers a large club to enjoy, a large open space, a big garden. That's where the expertise came into work. Forte of Dosti had been to enter into an area that nobody would think of entering and creating a wonderland or a beautiful township in a lesser known part of the city. Say we take an example of Vadala, where we began work in the early 2000s.
Right.
There was no locality called Vadala East, in fact. There was only Vadala West. If you go to Vadala East, it was viewed more as a unknown man's land. Nobody would want to venture into that area.
Got it.
So when we began Dosti Acres, having bought that land parcel from Skanska USA and Indian Hume Pipe Company,
Yeah.
they began business on a very cautionary note. But having begun the sales and construction, due to the brand and goodwill of all three of them, we were able to attract very good gentry into our properties. That's been the same story in Thane as well, where we did a project called Dosti Flamingo that was owned by, the mill was China Mill, owned by the Mafatlal Group. Even in Dosti Vihar, in the entry of Thane, that was owned by the CK Birla Group. And we used to enjoy buying passes with a clean title. And whereas
Right.
you get a clean title apart from a industrial factory land.
Right.
So that's been the growth of the company from 2002 to 2008 or 10. We were having good projects. We were able to complete projects in a good time span of 3 to 4 years. From 2012 to 20 was the next or new phase of growth. And then I joined the business in 2016.
Right.
I've been there working in the group for the last 8 years.
Yeah.
And our group and company is known a lot for flexibility and trust and relationship transparency. So that's been the expertise, and why Dosti would be maybe a customer's choice is that if something goes wrong, something you feel was not given to you as per your expectations, you have a voice. You are able to approach somebody in the company. They'll explain to you. They may not do it necessarily, but they will talk it out to you. Was there a mismatch in expectation, or
Right.
did you get something incorrect also? And if something is wrong, definitely we would go back and rework it. So a prime example of that has been that all our projects made from early 1995 to 2005, the landscape and club have been maintained by Dosti until today. So for the last,
For all your properties.
pretty much. So maybe 70 to 75% of our properties, we've been maintaining our club and landscape until 2022-23 also. Still a few of them are managed by us.
That's
Now-
very rare. This is probably the first instance. I mean, I'm an outsider for the industry, but for me to have an apartment where the landscape and clubhouse and everything is managed, because I've seen society screw it up time and
Right,
again.
right.
So maybe
Yeah.
that's the reason you all
Correct.
decided
They
to-
don't have the expertise and the thought process. And more than expertise is more about time.
Yeah.
You're busy in your day-to-day life. You need a professional person to come on board and run the club and landscape. So we viewed it as a marketing and branding cost. When people wanted to buy in today's projects, we could easily tell them, you visit our old projects, see our club and landscape. It looks as good as new.
From the summary that you gave me, it seems like y'all are really trying to live the name Dosti with the customer, with your partners, etc. We'll dive into that and I'll grill you on that in a bit. But I wanted to kick this conversation off with your childhood, your early days, and how that shaped you to be the leader that you are for Dosti and just the human that you are in general. So tell me about dreams of a young Anuj or a younger Anuj, and then about the privilege that you grew up with, because I'm guessing you did grow up with a lot of privilege given that Dosti is a more than 40-year-old company. So what role did that play in your ambitions and in your personality?
Believe I had a routine, decent childhood filled with a lot of sports. Credit to my mom predominantly, that she knew I was a hyperactive kid. And luckily, even school and the friendships I developed were with a lot of people who are now doing extremely well in sports in different parts of the world. So I was able to live my childhood with them. And the focus was a lot into, say, education, swimming, water polo, running, cycling. And that was one of the prime reasons why I believe my sister and I didn't get much exposure to what Dosti was when we were growing up. Only when we joined the business, we kind of realized
Wow.
what our parents and partners had set up in the last couple of years. And even when I finished my undergrad, I did my engineering.
Yeah.
I focused on civil and environmental engineering. When I came back to Bombay, I didn't have much of a idea what to do, what not to do. And my passion used to lie more in environment engineering compared to civil, where we hear about the way landscapes and dump yards are maintained in the States and Europe and the way they are maintained in our country.
Right.
It's a sea of change
Yeah.
which India has to inculcate at some point in time.
Right.
But gradually, that was more of a side project, passion project. But then I got involved in work. I spent a few weeks or few months, in fact, interning at a contracting firm in Dubai.
Right.
That was post my graduation sometime in May to August 2016. And then I came back and joined the family business. So a few reasons why I've been enjoying the business, unlike few of my seniors who had joined in 2012 or 2010, is that they joined when the market was at an all-time high.
Right.
And the industry didn't need new thoughts or new vision or new ideas
Yeah.
of how to break the barrier and do something good, because you were anyways doing good.
Yeah.
But when I joined, we faced 5 whammies back to back, possibly in 3 years.
Wow.
So the first whammy was in November 16 when there was demonetization. In a few months came RERA. In a few months came GST. In a few months came the banking crisis when ILFS faced a
Of
tough
course.
time.
Yeah.
And all of these whammies required the industry and developers to think differently, think out of the box.
Yeah.
And that could be done by anyone, not necessarily someone who's been there for the last 50
Expertise.
years could have an idea. So that was a very important journey. And we have seen the olders, maybe like the first generation who had been part of the business, they had seen 2 whammies in their career. For us to have seen 4 or 5 whammies in the first 3 years of our business. So they had seen the emergency in 91.
Yeah.
They saw the boom, then they saw the Wall Street crash.
Yeah.
But that's all they saw in about 25-30 years. And we saw 5 of them pretty much in 3 years.
Too much
that
turbulence.
helped us understand the business, navigate into the skin of the business and understand what to do, what to improve upon. So
They've
that's
been
where
working in an Emirates sort of environment, and you took an Indigo flight as soon as you entered. And I mean, before I jump into the Dosti journey for you, which is very interesting and probably the main focus for me in this conversation. So, what were your key learnings from the US that you think helped you transition into the leader that you are here at Dosti in India? So, what were your expectations, and what do you think you came back with, and would you recommend that journey?
So I frankly had no expectations when I went there. I was just a lost teenager trying to find my way through life when I went to the States for the first few years. But what really I believe were the key and foremost, most important learning of being in the States was to think out of the box, think unconventionally. And all the research is not done by talking or reading stuff. More research can be done. I mean, by talking and reading would mean in India, when you were to do some research or try to think out of the box, you would speak to friends and family who've
Yeah.
been there, done that.
Yeah.
Or you may look up to professors, you may look up to various scholars and discuss with them.
Yeah.
But you would not spend hours and hours Googling stuff online or looking at YouTube and learning things.
Right.
That is what US really taught me. That you need to invest time, invest a lot of your free time into learning on a constant basis. When you need to do something new, there's no end to it. You spend all your time, spend your energy into reading up things online, talk to people from different cultures, talk to professors. They will put you on the right path of what to read, what to learn.
Yeah.
And coming to your second question about how US education would help, would not help, would I recommend that? So it would not be a benchmark that I believe that one from a family business has to go to the States and come back and then take up the business, take up the mentor. There are so many examples of today's unicorns. Many of them have studied in various education institutions across the country. But
Yeah.
my belief would be for a education, you should have 3 to 4 years at a campus. Having a campus life
I see what
teaches
you're
you
saying.
a lot
Yeah.
of things. India
Yeah.
also has extremely good campuses.
Yeah.
So as long as you have that campus experience where you are together with your fellow classmates, gives you time to think about the future, plan what you want to do down the line, and help you innovate quite a lot.
I think I completely agree with you on that front. In fact, I was going to take a very different angle. Maybe, personally, I feel like not from an educational point of view only, but just from a living away from family point of view. Especially when you talk about family business heirs, you're so protected. I'm assuming you're privileged. That's why you're able to pay for your education abroad. B, we are also trying to adhere to certain norms of living with family. So you come back to that protective space every evening and you go from that space every morning. I think that limits the spectrum of thought for you, and it also reduces your risk appetite because you're surrounded by people who have been there, done that, versus living on campus with people who don't even know how to brush 2 times a day or even once a day, and someone's not doing their laundry, and you don't have to take care of yourself only, but you also have to take care of your roommate and what's going on in the house, and you have to complete your assignments, look for a job, meet ends possibly if your parents are strict about it. So I think for holistic growth, not just professional growth, it's quintessential that you live that campus life, whether it's in India or the US. Now, coming back to your journey, so you went there for your undergrad, you mastered in engineering.
I did my undergrad only.
Undergrad, but
Undergrad.
What was your major in your undergrad?
Civil engineering.
Civil engineering. So you were focused on the environmental aspect of engineering even there? Because you mentioned that briefly.
For the third year, we had a not option but a compulsion to do the base of 4 or 5 different fields in civil.
Yeah.
So one of them being construction management, what I do today pretty much day in day out at Dosti.
Yeah.
The second thing being highway engineering. The third being structure design for bridges, roads, dams, flyovers. And the fourth being I forget exactly what the fourth
Yeah.
module was, but we had to take 2-3 modules on each subject.
Yeah.
And based upon our likings, then choose to specialize in something for our last year. So that was when I realized all of these are very interesting, and the fifth one being environment as well.
Yeah.
That's when my passion used to lie in environment, in highway and road design. But from a long-term standpoint, given that by then I was getting into deciding what to do for the future, and I realized doing construction management would be essential for business and growth back in Bombay.
So when you talk about back in Bombay, was that a given for you? Were you clear on that?
Not at all, actually. I was still. It was a backup in case nothing would work out in the States or so.
So what didn't work out, according to you?
I think what didn't work out was that it would take a lot of years for someone who's just out of school with an undergrad degree to come to a decision-making position. Obviously, I understand companies would not trust someone junior to make a decision. And the dream is when you come out of college, you want to work at a top-notch company.
Yeah.
So there were these top-notch engineering companies in the States, how we have a L&T or Gamin or HCC in today's Indian world.
Yeah.
There are companies like a Turner Engineering,
Yeah.
Skanska USA, whom all of us aspire to work for. And being a billion-dollar company, you would come to the company and first do the role of a site engineer or a quantity surveyor. And to get to the level of a decision maker, you would have to work at a smaller company.
Yeah.
So many of my friends worked the unconventional way, and they worked at a developer's office in the States.
Yeah.
And a developer in the States is a very different animal, where you are doing the same work or more work compared to what we do in India, but with a team of not more than 4 people.
Of course.
From
Yeah,
that,
labor-intensive.
3-4 are your interns from top B schools. One owner, one employee, and 4-5 interns, and they run the show.
If you do that here, you're fired, Anuj.
Correct. So we didn't have that vision, and the aspiration in the States was to work at a Turner Engineering,
Yeah.
which would have more than 80,000 employees across the States.
You'd be lost in the crowd.
And you would not get to grow. So that's when I then showed my father and his friends a few of the jobs that I was applying to and getting offers from.
Yeah.
We then decided these are great for experience, but I've got experience for the last 4.5 years being an undergrad, did some internships here and there as well.
Yeah.
So rather I come back to India and get in the grind of daily things here and there.
Right. So now you move back, you join Dosti. Dosti is a considerably big name even at that time. So there comes a sense of responsibility with the role. And obviously, given that you are part of the family, you will take on more responsibilities than the average new hire here. So how do you step into such big shoes where your dad's taken Dosti to a new level? I always think of it as an Abhishek Bachchan, Amitabh Bachchan situation. Like no matter what he does, he's compared to Amitabh Bachchan, and it's never enough. So were you nervous about it? What were your initial thoughts about it? And then what was your action plan to create your own identity here?
Well, I believe you have to be inquisitive. You have to ask the most stupidest questions. You have to have the confidence to ask dumb questions. Let the outsider feel this guy doesn't know what he's doing. But that's when you get to know the root cause, or you go in the skin of what's happening in reality at work. So what I did for the first 2 years in Dosti was spend 2 years at sites. I went to one of our sites, Dosti Planet North in Shirfata, and I spent 2 years as a site engineer, understanding how the planning team works, how the QS team, how the billing team, how the execution MEP team works.
Got it.
And I was lucky that I always had my father and his partners to come back to and ask questions. As I believe in a traditional system, questions would be asked during working hours. We being a family that bleeds real estate, fortunately or unfortunately, our breakfast conversation, dinner conversation would be about doubts and queries I had today at site. If I forget that and ask those doubts and queries every weekend or once a month, I would have less learnings. But the fact that every day coming home from work or the next morning, you would discuss the previous day, try to understand what you could do better, what advice I could potentially look into imparting to the site from the back end and helping them improve, is what truly gave me that chance to maybe grow up the ladder or take responsibility at a very early age, as I stepped into shoes I should have stepped into at maybe 45, 46, but stepped into at 20, 27 in fact.
So being a student of the business, of the industry for the first few years really helped. And then let's say you now know the ground reality of this business and you're starting to take on more responsibility. How do you earn trust and authority over a team that's been working for your family for the last couple of decades almost, as you said? And walk us through the challenges in that process of earning trust and authority.
No doubt there is a big challenge in earning trust and authority of seniors who've been there in the industry for more than 25 years with you. And they have seen ups and downs what you yourself have not seen. But it's the dedication and it's the strategy of being there with them, maybe in the early morning or late nights, putting in those odd hours with them when they feel the freshers would now pack up post a given hour, or they would come to work after a given hour and then spend time on so-called life after work.
Yeah.
I fortunately or unfortunately didn't do that. And I would be there with them when tough decisions were to be taken. If sometimes a decision was to be taken that didn't go correctly, we would then brainstorm, understand what went wrong, what went right.
Yeah.
And even thanks to them that they were open to hearing a unconventional mind giving his two piece of wisdom, and possibly some things worked, some things didn't work. But I would say that challenge has always been there and it is still there, where you also need to have a certain set of employees in the company who are open to change. They have to value the fact that even when in your 40s, 50s, 60s, you're always learning.
Right.
What I've seen, what I've done post my undergrad had been many courses at Indian B schools.
Yeah.
And one would say, why do you do that? You've just come back from a 4-5 year degree.
Yeah.
Now go back to business. But taking few weeks out of business every 2-3 years, going back to a B school, coming back, gives you a different vision to work. And we've also seen that our elders had been extremely supportive in work. They were also open to new thoughts, new wisdoms coming in. And that's what led to the foundation of growth.
Yeah, I think you bring up a valid point. Once we get sucked into business, especially family businesses, the sheer emotion and the high stakes environment makes it difficult to take a step back and go back to learning. And it seems a little, it seems like a waste of time at a high level. But the importance of it is felt only after you do it. But let's say you actually earn trust and you have some authority in your formative years here at Dosti. How do you then make some high stake decisions? Before I come to business decisions where money is involved, I want to talk about hiring and firing, because I think they are the key aspects of taking a legacy family business forward in my view. So both play an equal role. Sometimes we focus more on hiring than firing in legacy businesses because we want people to stay there for longer. So what's your take on hiring right and dividing roles and responsibilities, and then again taking a call on who doesn't fit the bill, whereas people assume that in the family business your job is more secure than elsewhere.
So your point is a very valid point and very good thing to debate and discuss as well about hiring and firing. And what I believe is that traditionally family businesses don't come with a set of KRA KPIs for one to do, for one to manage.
Right.
You obviously cannot come in and start letting go of people who have been there with the company. Maybe one doesn't have the knowledge what a B school or a tech school would give you, but having that trust and loyalty
True.
and being there for the company through its ups and downs.
Right.
And not just one up and one down, but maybe 3 to 4 ups and downs in the last 45 years is something you would not get in today's talent.
True.
So recognizing that, recognizing the value of what they provide as well. And everybody at work I've seen has a certain skill what you would not get from an MBA degree.
True.
That's when we realize that roles and responsibilities have to be divided into a very neat and efficient manner. We've also been at loggerheads about whom to keep, whom not to keep. And then that decision is never an easy decision to be taken. So I had been taking small baby steps because I realized very early on in my career that your growth is determined by your team. And to grow in a ideal futuristic manner, you have to build a team around you who is much smarter compared to you. Now to do that and to get that talent would not necessarily stay with you in your highs and lows.
Right.
But having them is essential to growth. Having someone who could essentially become your shadow at work and a smarter shadow compared to you would definitely be much wiser. And I've seen businesses not done based on numbers and balance sheets or Excel sheets. It's more of trust and faith, because the way we operate in real estate here is we're hands-on in so many parts of the business.
Right.
So having someone who's smarter than you, having someone you can trust constantly is essential to the business. And to go about looking into letting go of old employees and hiring fresh talent, definitely your staff cost or your overhead cost would increase.
Yeah.
But you gradually implement it. That's when we decided to implement a performance improvement plan for certain people at work, where we would guide them 6 months prior that we see things are not going in the right manner. Let's jot down few pointers. Let's track these pointers for the next 2 months.
Right.
Let's again revisit it in 2 months. If you perform, great. If you don't perform, okay, you have 2 months more. You again try to perform. You again have 2 months more, and giving the entire company that sense of the employee has been given enough time to perform and expectations are set clearly. Otherwise, I've seen a lot of times expectations aren't set.
Yeah.
And that's when you get into unnecessary arguments. We believed in setting expectations, having a clear KRA, KPI for your employees. And then even they would realize that Anuj had asked me to work on these things. I'm doing my work, but have I done this? And this matters the most to him.
Yeah.
He's not concerned about my work, because anyone can do that. But these 4-5 points are most important.
So you've communicated that, and
Communication is what matters foremost and topmost in work to hire and fire people.
this is an opportune moment in this conversation because I mean, on some points, I beg to differ because I come from Amazon in terms of my
It's a
previous work
different background
experience, and it's
completely.
like talking about trust, loyalty, etc. It's not even part of the conversation, right?
Right.
Obviously, I don't completely agree with that ruthless culture, but I want to bring to the table this debate of Amazon relies more on mechanisms and systems. So when I was there, I could see that the systems were so strong that no one individual could hamper it, even if they wanted to, whether they're in the organization or they quit. And there is a smooth transition, there is a handover period, there is an SOP, a standard operating procedure for everything. So, in a sense, it's very robotic. They still try to make room for creativity in this robotic process, and how they do that is a separate conversation, but they are not reliant on any one human being loyal to the company. Their idea is to make the most of this person in the 1 year 11 months. So they ramp up quickly, they deliver their best at the peak of their careers. When they can't take it anymore, they leave the organization and Amazon moves on. When I moved back, I tried to see if we can combine trust and loyalty with some systems. I've also heard you talk about systems a few times in the past. So walk me through your thought process on this. That how do you balance loyalty with, yes, I definitely want someone smart. So someone dumb who's loyal is not good for business, because you have a fiduciary duty towards Dosti. And then building systems which obviously your legacy team is going to protest, but you have to implement to make yourself immune to some of these people moving out of the organization.
So doing that has been a challenging role for the last 6 years, and what's been my focus, in fact. We have seen due to some liberties or so, we were able to maintain both the teams, the new blood and the old blood. And having the old blood learn from the new blood has been a key to what I've been doing. And over a period of time, management also realized sometimes when the old blood is just not cooperating, when we see the old blood has, say, 20 members.
Yeah.
From 20 members, 4-5 of them have gelled with the new blood and they have become on the same page as them.
Yeah.
But the remaining are not with them. So what we do in these scenarios is that since real estate is a very hands-on business, there's a lot of work to do. We sometimes then transfer the old blood to a different department. Let them lead that department from scratch. They also have a chance. So what we saw was our customer relationship management team was revamped in the last 4 to 6 years. And luckily, when we realized they were not able to fit to our expectations, we transferred them to a new team of doing facility management, as they had
So what management you said?
facility management, facilities. So getting into the building, how to run the building, how to keep the customers happy. As we had seen, this team is not a champion in terms of collections. They aren't a champion in customer onboarding, giving the customer the smooth journey how a Emirates airline would offer you.
Yeah.
But they were extremely good in firefighting, what the new blood could not do.
Of course.
So we transferred all of them to the FM department, and that's where they're doing a fabulous job.
So finding the right areas for their skills to be put to use in.
Correct. And having the bandwidth to do things in-house. We in India, the way real estate runs is we don't have a lean team. We have
Yeah.
a gigantic team that does everything from start to end. We'd appoint the labor contractor, we'd buy the tile, we'd buy the CP sanitary, we'd buy the pipe, we'd buy the wires.
That's
And then combine all of it.
we want to have a close grip on it all.
True.
So I was, as I was saying, I was recently reading this article on micromanagement, and I think the Airbnb founder mentioned the importance of micromanagement, which is unintuitive because we keep reading about how micromanagement is not good, and even I, for that matter, joined my family business with the idea that our family does a lot of micromanagement. So I wanted to understand from you. I mean, the article basically said that when you're so passionate about the business and when it's so important to you and when there is emotional attachment to the business, it becomes important to micromanage certain aspects of it, and it also shows the team that you care and you're focused on the ground realities of the business. How has your managerial style evolved over time, and what kind of a manager are you today?
Well, I've seen my style of management is predominantly based upon the kind of team members who are in that department. If I know it's been a legacy team, I would tend to micromanage. If I know we have gotten professionals on board from the industry,
Right.
I would like to leave it to them, let them perform. And I've seen when I don't micromanage them, they in fact outperform compared to my expectations as well.
Right.
So it's a very fine line of deciding where and when, whom and how to micromanage, whom not to micromanage.
Got it.
But the challenge has always been that when you micromanage, the team feels that the boss is here, so what's my role? Or he's doing everything, so what am I here for?
Right.
And once they have been micromanaged by the previous generation for so many years, and when you leave things to them, sometimes they aren't able to do things end to end.
Right.
Because they have that shoulder with them constantly. You need to set an expectation with them that you've been working in the given manner for so many years. Now you have to work differently. And I will not micromanage you, but I expect you to do much more compared to what you've been doing as well.
Right.
Because when you're micromanaged, there's a sort of boundaries and layers put around you, and you're not supposed to go beyond them. But when you remove that completely, we don't realize sometimes what our teams can do when they're left to themselves.
Yeah.
We give them a start point and end point. You do whatever you want in between that.
To achieve.
You work less hours, we are fine with that. As long as you come and deliver that. And there have been some teams who have outperformed, in fact.
I agree with you on this front because I have seen firsthand in my business where I keep telling my team this: don't come to me for decisions, come to me to discuss solutions. So when you come with multiple options that you have evaluated and with your recommended decision, it makes it easier for me to evaluate them quickly. It saves me time, but more importantly, the ability to come up with solutions is something these legacy employees have lost because they've never been given that freedom to decide or to think.
Right.
So to spur that habit or to inculcate that habit over time is a challenge, and I try to do it in this way. But I wanted to quickly segue into the construction world because that's the core of your day-to-day work. It's a very high-stakes environment, Anuj. And I'm guessing now that you're 8 years into this business, you're seasoned enough to be able to make some of those big decisions. Given the risk and reward, and as we were talking about this before the podcast started, that a lot of your peers and competitors go through huge cycles of fluctuation because of that, because this is a highly rewarding but a highly punishing sector to be in. What's your decision making philosophy in general? And then specifically, how do you evaluate an opportunity in the construction space where the stakes are so high? Walk us through that process of a go no go decision being arrived at.
What I believe is, in your various facets of business, especially in Mumbai real estate, your cost of construction versus your cost of project is not more than 30%,
Right.
or even less than 20% at times. Whereas across India, typically your cost to make a project, including permission, land buying, approvals, marketing, sales, overheads, from that, construction is more than 70% of your cost.
Oh, wow.
So we talk about Pune, talk about Bangalore. Wherever you are selling under 8,000 per square feet, your cost is typically 5,500 to 6,000 per square feet on construction. In Mumbai, we are selling sign at 42 to 44,000.
Yeah.
Our cost is not more than 10,000 purely on construction. So managing other parts and how to keep your costs low on municipal approvals or on sales and marketing, staff overheads is a major challenge that we need to navigate. And even your land cost is more than 15 to 18,000 a square feet,
Got it.
which is unheard of across the country. So what I believe is construction is superbly important, but as long as once you make a Bible, you have a SOP in place and you follow that SOP,
Yeah.
doing construction from start to end is not rocket science. It's been there, done that across the world for more than 500 years. You delve into detail, what more you're going to add? You're possibly going to save 1-2% further cost.
Got it.
But when you get into other parts of the business, be it municipal approval, sales and marketing, your company branding, your company impression, sales office,
That's the value added.
all of that is a larger value add for Mumbai players.
Got it. So you talk about the difference in construction prices. Is that primarily driven by material, or is that because I would assume that these are probably very equal or similar across India. So what's the major difference in construction for it to have such a big impact?
What I've seen is in Mumbai, in today's Mumbai, to do any new tower for a sizable parcel of land, let's take a land of minimum 1 acre. To make the project viable, you have to consume full FSI.
Right.
Mumbai relatively has the largest FSI apart from Hyderabad
Right.
in the country. Worldwide, you get triple, quadruple of what Mumbai has, be
Oh,
it in
wow.
the New York, Tokyo, Shanghai. But given what Mumbai has, your FSI is humongous and every tower will go to at least 40 plus floors.
Right.
And every tower has its own constraints because your 1 acre plot of land would not be a square plot.
Yeah.
It would be some triangle, some kink, some
Yeah,
chotu gully
yeah.
goes into a plot, then the plot gets large,
Yeah.
again gets small. So to fit your tower in the unconventional design also takes up most of your cost.
Got it.
And Mumbai is known for height restriction, so you would not simply avoid basements like what Hyderabad does. You would have to go 3-4 level deep under the ground, come up with basements, limit your podiums, and try to give a good floor to floor height to your customers to enjoy the flat they buy eventually.
Right.
So by doing all of this, we have seen typically cost of construction for non-Mumbai would not be more than 5,000 a square feet on Rera carpet. But cost of construction in Mumbai is double in fact. So what we are building in Thane, Greater Thane, Shilfata Thane, we are able to achieve cost of construction under 6,000. But when we come to Mumbai city and suburbs, your starting benchmark is 8,500, and that can go to 12,500 if not monitored too well.
But when you talk about the percentage that cost of construction has in the overall cost, you said Mumbai has the lowest.
Lowest.
Yeah. So what's that gap? The others don't market
No, I
as much, or their sales expenses are lower. What's the gap?
The two major gaps are land procurement cost,
Got it.
and the second would be land approval cost.
Got it.
We have seen sometimes land, if you're smart, you have legacy land, what developers do have. We also have some of that. But if you have land bought at today's price,
Yeah.
you cannot afford any kind of delay. If you buy land in today's price, you have to start business in next 9 months.
Oh wow.
You have to have your approvals in place. Typically, approvals in a city like Mumbai take 2 to 3 years to come. You have to work with best of the best municipal licensing architects who know the government skin in and out. You have to work handy with them. You have to personally be present everywhere to get the approvals in 6 to 8 months. And for a project to start in Mumbai, you need, last I counted, was 107 approvals
Wow.
or 107 NOCs. Even if you give 5 days per NOC, that's 1.5 years. You need to take things in parallel, need to keep things going. 10 NOCs in one go have to come. Then you're able to get your construction going and sales going in the first minimum 1 year.
So wait, I'll cut you there just to understand your take on this process. Do you think it's necessary or unnecessarily cumbersome?
It's definitely cumbersome, but the government is not going to change it because you find it cumbersome. You have to go through the grind. You have to get more industry experts to help you take it fast.
Yeah.
Why can other people do it and you can't do it?
True. But when you say why can other people do it, obviously there are clear, a layman's understanding of being a real estate player is that, oh, they definitely have some sort of setting, they definitely have some sort of understanding with the government and with local politicians for approvals to go faster, etc. It has been the nature of the game. You've not probably grown up in that environment because you studied in the US and then directly jumped into business. You must have seen this over the years. So, do you think this cumbersome process increases the odds of an entrepreneur having to do things that are probably not very transparent?
So what I've seen in the business is that right now the process is cumbersome. You may take a lot of unwanted time, energy, effort into getting a particular file sanctioned. But we have seen in a city like Mumbai, there obviously is some untransparency that happens in the background. What is part and parcel of the business? You look at it as your cost to sell or your project cost or so.
Yeah.
But that being done and taken care of, it is not the end goal or it is not a means to an end.
Yeah.
You still have to go through the process. Like, you won't believe it, our BMC runs on SAP.
I'm very happy to hear that.
Every approval, every process has multiple approval levels. Your final NOCs, your final approval, your CC, your OC, everything is generated from SAP.
In my opinion, it should be, for BMC, it should be ASAP, but okay. So you're saying they're very organized and there is a level of transparency, even when parallelly there is some...
There is a parallel
lack of-
economy that runs,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
But it is not only mastering that gets your work done. You
Yeah.
have to then go to the other economy, the regular economy as well, and get your file moving. It has to go through 4 file approval levels. Then you have a high power committee, you have a concessions to be taken. And after that you get IOD. Then you can start vacating your tenants at site and then start the piling at site.
So given this process, do you think it's a level playing field which is size agnostic for developers?
I would say, unfortunately, it's still not a level playing field. We have to get to a level where you're able to allow outsiders to enter the business. As we have seen, so a stat pre and post RERA. Pre-RERA, across India, a developer was defined in a survey by someone who's selling more than 50 flats a year.
Uh-huh.
And that count, I believe at one point maybe was 4,000 or 4,500.
Yeah.
Post RERA, that count of developers who are doing more than 50 flats a year in terms of transactions came down to 800.
Wow.
So we saw a 70% dip in developers operating in the business. There were challenges, there were barriers, the business became more and more complicated. and developers realize that this is not the right place for them to be in.
That's very unintuitive because every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there wants to become a developer because they think there's a lot of money in this. But you seem to say that there are barriers to entry, plus, for those who are already there, there are complications that cannot be managed at a smaller scale easily.
Correct.
So you're seeing players slowly move out of the
So,
space.
I mean, if we were to talk to bankers in today's times and ask them how many Bombay developers would you trust with your money in more than 4 digits? Say like money of more than 4 digits, how many would you trust? There would be developers they can count on their fingertips.
Wow.
Not more than that. Although there are so many developers, when we Google, we look online, we drive on the roads. But trustworthy developers have come down drastically.
So who's funding these developers that are not as trustworthy as the bankers would like them to be?
You have your investors, friends and family, HNIs, your mama, chacha, kaka, other family members and friends who have some money lying on the side. They have heard that their friend put money in someone and made a superb return 20
Yeah.
years ago. Let me try doing that. Let's see how it goes.
One of my friends, I was asking him, what questions would you like to ask Anuj? He said, I'd love to ask, like, these regulations and compliances, they keep changing every now and then based on the government's reaction to, or policymakers' reaction to what the consumer is going through. So during COVID, there was a drastic reduction in the government fee and the regulations that they
Correct.
brought in. They reduced the cost for the developers considerably. So my understanding is that a lot of people jumped on this wagon and brought up land parcels with the intent to develop it, and now they are developing it, and we are seeing a lot of sales now starting to crop up, or rather attempt to sell crop up in the recent years, and more to come in the next 2 years. Do you think this increase in supply, from what I've heard, is going to disrupt the market, and are you going to see some correction in the MMR region, in the MMR, or do you think there is still demand, and if there is, then where is the demand?
So I believe the market has already been corrected. Pre-2016, developers used to enjoy hefty profit margins of more than 70 to 100% surplus over
Wow.
a given project. Now we are operating a real estate company like a FMCG company, where your margins are less than 15 to 10%. And if one decision gets taken wrong, the project is not worth doing. It's come to that level. And the government did announce a 50% cut in premiums if you paid your premium before 22 December. What the government did was, if a project premium was worth over 400 crore,
Yeah.
there were two options to pay that. Option A was to pay 10% now and pay the remaining with interest over the project life cycle of next 5 years.
What do you mean project premium? Sorry.
So your project premium is your cost to get a project sanction. It's your municipal approval cost.
Got it. Got it.
And in our previous chat, when we spoke about three main heads for Mumbai, one being land, one being approval, second being construction.
Got it.
Land and approval typically are 70 to 80% of your cost. And the remaining 20%, 25 would be construction. Your approval cost that stands at 35% was slashed to 17%.
Right.
And you had two ways to do this. One way was you would pay 10% of the 35% before taking CC, and the remaining you would pay over the project life cycle with interest.
Right.
The second module what BMC came up with was to pay 50% of that before a given date, and the remaining 50% has been waived off. But in lieu of that, the developer had to bear stamp duty for the customer. And your stamp duty cost is essentially 6% of your project cost.
So
So when we did the math,
it's actually more.
that scheme was not viable.
Yeah.
It was just a herd mentality
Yeah.
that pushed all of us to take approvals and fill BMC's coffers. That's how they possibly began the coastal road, the metro, this, that,
So
the orange gate,
SAP
and
is
so on.
definitely helping them outsmart developers. But
True.
when you talk about, so the broader point that I get from your reply is the margins have come down considerably for the developer, and that makes you feel comfortable about no crazy correction in prices even if supply is high. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. In a market like Mumbai, in 90% of Mumbai, we don't foresee a price increment of more than 7 to 8% every year. So you have to make your bets well. It's not a market like Bangalore or NCR where prices have doubled in the last 2 years. And then you don't look into value engineering at all. We
Got it.
have to place our bets wisely. We don't, when we evaluate a new project, we don't take a escalation of more than 5% in our sale price every year on year. If it makes sense as per that spreadsheet, then you put money into a project. If something happens, if you see appreciation, all well and good. But that happens once in a blue moon.
Yeah. No, so obviously this is a very a business where leverage is king for most people. How do you think about leverage and the risk that comes from it and its role in business?
I believe you have to smartly leverage. There were times when we also were over leveraged. And going from that cycle of being over leveraged to smartly leveraged, we had to go to one phase of being over leveraged to realize how to correctly leverage.
Yeah.
Because what you learn in paper or a textbook, you will not be able to translate to work actually.
Of course.
So when we went through that cycle, we experienced the highs and lows of the business. We realized what's the right kind of leverage. How
Yeah.
do you price your products correctly? Two of our projects, namely Dosti Ambrosia and Dosti Majesta, Ambrosia being in Vadala, Majesta being in Thane, we viewed them as our most marquee projects. And compared to the projects in the vicinity, we wanted to command a 25 to 30% premium
Yeah.
compared to what we would command or competition would command.
Right.
So we delivered the building with OC, having sold not more than 30% stock or 20% stock. And the goal was to then command a 30% premium and catch up on whatever leverage costs we incurred.
Of course.
But the market didn't support. That's when we changed our mindset and philosophy after those projects got sold at an undercut price.
Of course. And you didn't
That
make enough money.
whenever we launch or by the time the building RCC is complete, we should be sold out. So that's the model we've been following
be
for
greedy.
the last 6 years.
Yeah.
Exactly. Don't be greedy. Today also I feel we have sold 85% stock in Vadala, around 85% stock in Sion. And now new launches are coming who are selling at our price of pre-launch pricing.
Oh, wow. So they are learning the lesson that you learned.
Correct. Or no, if I put it incorrectly. Say we are selling at a price of 38,000. They are selling at 38,000 at launch stage.
Of course. So,
So
now they realize
we-
that they shouldn't have waited.
Correct. They should not have waited. And even sometimes we feel, what if we didn't sell so aggressively during the pandemic and we chose to hold stock? But looking back, there are two sides of the coin.
Yeah.
But we don't realize time is money. And the faster you exit the project, the faster you give possession, that intangible saving you don't think about.
You free up your mind, you turn around, you move on to the next thing. And more importantly, I always tell my friends, it's like the stock market, right? Loss of profit is not a loss.
Correct. Very true.
But a loss is definitely
Loss
a loss.
is a loss. Exactly.
So you can, if you have that problem that, oh, I could have made more money, that means you delivered a better product. You didn't sell it at the right price. Maybe you didn't do justice to your value addition, but you did justice to the overall balance sheet and the project. And you can take
Exactly.
some learnings without being too aggressive.
And end of the day, our business is a very emotional business. If you think about your loss of profit, you may not deliver the job on time. People have invested their hard-earned money
Of course.
into your flats. And a real estate transaction for a common man in India is typically once in a lifetime.
A dream come true.
That's the most important transaction. Other than that, you may buy a watch, you may buy a phone, you may fly somewhere, you may do holidays.
Those are recurring.
But you will do that once in 5 years, once in 3 years. One bad experience, it's okay. The next time covers up for it.
Yeah.
But a bad experience in getting your house sours you for your lifetime.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head, because we fail to empathize with what the consumer goes through. But before we jump to the ethics and morality of being in this business, my last question was about you being your idea of risk. Are you a risky person in general?
We traditionally, Dosti is not known to be a very risky business or risky company.
Yeah.
But in the last 2 years, we have been taking more risks and hedging our bets wisely.
Can you tell me about any risk that you took that led to a failure, and any failure that changed the way you think?
So far, I think in my 8-year journey, I haven't got that chance to do that and seen failure. While I have taken risks in the last 2 years.
What paid off? What's the biggest risk you took?
There were a few decisions like that. We in real estate are used to micromanaging everything at the site.
Yeah.
We are averse to appointing grade A, grade B contractors.
Yeah.
When I got back, I chose to give a few projects to a grade A, grade B contractors.
Yeah.
And it did cost a lot. I would not shy away from saying that, but it maybe costed us 30% more. But sometimes we don't realize paying extra gives you that peace and comfort of mind to focus on other parts of the business.
Very true.
So
Is my dad listening? But go ahead. Yeah.
So in fact, for both our jobs in Vadala and Thane, we in fact did not do those jobs on a labor basis. We did those on an item rate basis, where we did pay 30% extra compared to what we would have paid on labor.
Yeah.
But there is no guarantee labor would deliver that job on time. We have seen our jobs on labor, what we do. We get into counting manpower of the contractor.
Yeah.
We get into checking his safety. We get into checking his chin to strip. We check his everything. We check.
Yeah.
What we should not check. We are paying him a given side payment a month.
Yeah.
With that, he has to
They
do
should
whatever
take
he has to
ownership.
do. Take ownership and get going.
Yeah.
So both the projects, Dosti Eastern Bay and Dosti Mezzo, have been such projects where I've taken that plunge and leap of faith to work with the grade A contractor.
And it paid off in
And
terms of giving you
That's
peace of
going to
mind.
pay off not just to give me a timely delivery, but to even give me a building that stand the test of time.
True.
We see so many buildings that are made 15 years ago, but they look like they're made 40 years ago. These two buildings, even after the next 20-25 years, which we will also help to maintain, will look fresh as new.
So this may not get you more from the immediate buyer, but for the Dosti brand, that longevity is all that builds the brand. So
And even whenever buyers who bought from us at a very competitive market price, when they sell their flat, they may experience a 25-30% appreciation,
Got it.
which is unheard of in today's times.
Yeah.
Even we don't make that kind of money. So giving that money to the buyer, keeping money for him to make on the table,
Builds
will
trust.
ensure he again buys with me in the future.
Yeah.
So that's the soft marketing what we're able to do.
Got it. So then tell me a bit about, so we started with your love for the environment and environmental engineering. I constantly hear developers talk about sustainability. Probably the most abused jargon after feminism in my view.
Right.
But I'm trying to understand, does it have any practical significance in India from what you've seen, and what does it mean to you? Are you doing anything specifically to abide by that philosophy?
While we are doing a lot of sustainability measures, we endeavor to have all of our projects green certified by IGBC or LEED. Many of our projects have a silver or platinum rating. We have seen sustainability is a very abused word, and we still have a long way to go and deliver what is being done internationally. We recently did sign a few MOUs with a few platforms to have all of our buildings LEED certified.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have seen the costs of doing sustainability are not justified
Right.
as well. Sometimes it becomes more of a marketing tool.
Yeah.
But we have seen we need to stay with the bandwagon, and we need to ensure we talk well about it. We ensure most of our buildings we try to source locally, be it in buying wood, buying cement, buying steel, buying aggregates. Our major source, I would say, of construction is cement and aggregates. If you don't bring that from a different state, you try to bring it from a 100 to 150 km radius near to your project.
You minimize the
You
transportation.
minimize your transportation risk, you minimize your petrol, diesel cost as well.
So whatever little things you can do, you're trying to do. Another thing that probably on a personal level that I wanted to understand from you is you don't come across, at least to me, as the traditional, loud, outspoken, or I'd even say extroverted leader, right? And to run a huge company like that, probably you need some sort of concrete leadership style. What style suits you better, and what's your take on probably peers who are very different from you in terms of their leadership style?
So I have seen my leadership style, as you mentioned, is not of a loud, angry, aggressive nature.
Yeah.
But I believe in a manner of operations where we clearly define timelines, expectations from the first day of starting a particular project. And if we aren't able to maintain that, or due to somebody not delivering on time, we aren't able to get going.
Yeah.
I'm a quick decision maker in terms of deciding whom next to do, or let's change this, let's get something new going also.
Yeah.
And when those quick, tough decisions are taken a couple of times, the team realizes that he may not come and give me a firing,
Yeah.
but he may take a decision where the entire job gets back on track in some other manner also.
Yeah.
And I've seen it's been a trend. Even my father is not someone who is a strict and stern individual, although he may be looked at someone like that by other employees in the
Yeah.
company. He's been able to be a workaholic and get things done on his own. That is something I also would not want to do. Because what I've seen is the older generation, when things don't go correct, they start driving the car.
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
not car drivers. We have to be a backseat driver. We have to drive multiple cars. We can't
Of
just
course.
start driving one car and take it
Very
from start
true,
to
very true. Being too hands-on can mean that you don't have time for the essential things in business. But what you're telling me is your leadership style is more action-driven than motivational words or firing, or either way, good or bad. You like to have your actions speak.
And I try to always adjust to the employee, and we kind of get in the right groove where he understands me, I understand him. I understand if a particular employee is not going to put in 16 hours of work a day, but maybe put in 9 hours of work a day and get the work done. That's
Yeah.
what matters more than putting in hours.
Moving to the future of Dosti, right? I have heard you talk about trying to build the brand. It's been a fairly muted brand, even if we see a lot of your work across MMR. It feels like a less spoken about brand, and also not very loud in terms of its marketing. Maybe suits your father and your style as well. So, given that the value add is going to also come from this brand loyalty, goodwill, trust, what is your plan to turn this around for the brand?
My plan has already been in action for the last year and a half or so, where we have been investing significant amount of money into branding and putting the company across. Not every holding has to be about a price, about a render, about a creative, about a discount. Some holdings just have to be about the brand and what we've delivered for the last so many years.
Yeah.
So we did a campaign around 6 months ago where we tried to tell customers what we have done in a different manner.
Yeah.
So we did some campaigns where we spoke to the customers that essentially Dosti for the last 3-4 years, as per data driven by various various bodies or industries and agencies and even our own data showed that in terms of number of apartments sold, we had been number 2 or number 3 in MMR.
Wow.
I don't think the common man knows that.
Of course
So
not. I
to
didn't know.
drive that and to ensure that thought sticks with the customer, we explain to them that let's talk about the quantity of steel and concrete used in the Bandra Worli ceiling that was made over 7 to 8 years.
Yeah.
We use that quantity over 1 year. Or let's try to talk about the amount of concrete used in the Statue of Unity that was done over 3 years. We use that concrete over 1 financial year. Or we even try to, when we talk about space, we talk about million square feet. Nobody understands even lack of square feet.
Of course.
Forget million square feet.
Of course.
So when we try to put a tall claim that we sold 3 million, 3.5 million, nobody understands that.
Very true.
When we take Wankhede Stadium, we came up with a stat that we delivered more than 18 Wankhede stadiums in 1 year. That's when a customer understands, okay, one stadium
The scale
can
of
have
it.
48,000 people can sit there, plus the grounds. We have done 18 of those. So imagine that volume, that scale.
So
we've
you want to
been-
show the magnitude of Dosti's
The
brand,
magnitude.
the work that you're doing, so that the customer understands that this is not just another brand they're dealing with.
Correct.
So in the next 15-20 years, directionally, do you think developing these land parcels, these greenfield projects and making townships is the direction, or do you see redevelopment as the direction, or do you see going beyond MMR? What's your big idea for Dosti to be one of the largest players in India?
So what I've seen is real estate is a very micro market centric business.
Yeah,
A DLF came to Mumbai in 2008 but left Mumbai in 2010.
yeah,
When we think about it, a brand like DLF could not do so.
yeah,
Maybe something went wrong, definitely something went wrong. But other brands have been able to expand on a pan-India basis. And India is essentially not cities or states, multiple countries within the country.
of course.
So you have to take out certain time, like what we did for the Pune market to establish. We began a job in Pune about a year and a half ago.
Yeah,
And we are keen to expand into other cities, but that may not be today itself, because the opportunity in MMR is tremendous.
you still think so, because it always feels like it's cluttered, and where does this city fit more buildings and people?
So in today's time, redevelopment, lot of new regulations, new bylaws have come in the last 2 years.
Yeah,
And the boom what we saw in Matunga, Dadar, Shivaji Park is now coming to South Bombay.
got it.
So where I stay, all plots are large plots. Now societies are acting a lot faster and they are combining hands because they have seen the value
Of unity.
that they get if they choose to give a developer a plot of more than 1 acre.
Yeah.
So there is a scheme under the BMC called the Cluster Redevelopment Scheme that's defined as Regulation 33(9).
Okay.
We have 3 clusters ongoing. There is one in Marine Lines, one in Lower Parel, one in Baikala. We are looking at doing much more clusters in city of Mumbai. And you will see small towers, G+11, G+17 be torn down and replaced with G+70, G+75.
So that's where the opportunity you think lies.
And there is good opportunity, although that market's a price war. Getting into the Sobo market, it is the most talked about market, but the least voluminous market.
yeah.
How many people bought apartments worth more than 20 crore last year?
Yeah.
Not more than 250 of them. And 20 developers are chasing 250 home buyers.
Wow.
It's going to
It'll be a bidding
become
war.
a bidding war. So we have to hedge our bets. We cannot go all out.
And evaluate feasibility, of course, because you're not going to suddenly have people paying 2x of the Soho prices just because you've redeveloped the
Correct.
property. So some sort of macro analysis is also important outside of the micro transaction analysis of cost of construction, etc. But
And we are seeing opportunity in MMR is plenty. Everyone from a Bangalore, from a Hyderabad, from a Ahmedabad wants to come to Mumbai.
What?
And if we think about it, the big boys of Bangalore are already here in Bombay. Few people from Bangalore have signed treaties, have signed JVs. Few Ahmedabad developers are coming.
Before this conversation, if you told me people are coming to Mumbai for real estate, I would think it's a joke. It would be an opening line for an act. Because, I don't know, somehow the city gives you the sense that I've had enough, get out of here. Go to Thane, go to Shilpata, go beyond, go to Bandar, etc. But I am optimistic after this conversation that this city can accommodate more. It's like a local train. It's never full. You can have more
It's
people.
never
in it.
full, actually.
But I want to quickly move into your least favorite segment, hopefully, which is the rapid fire segment. I'll throw two options at you. Just pick one. We'll do it for fun and then move into our last startup Kira segment. Right? Okay. Thane or Mumbai?
Thane.
Lodha or Oberoi?
Oberoi.
Education in India or in the US?
Education in the States.
Balance or success?
Balance.
Sports or exercise?
Sports.
Apartment or a villa?
Apartment.
Coldplay or Adele?
Adele.
Dogs or cats?
None.
Oh my god. I think it's good I kept it for the end. Well, this has been fun. I want to jump into the last couple of minutes of this conversation, Anuj. You have to take the seat of a fresh graduate who wants to start up, obviously with the experience that you had. So you are in the real estate space, you know what you know, and you've seen what you've seen. If you had to start a new venture, what problem would you be solving and what would your solution look like?
I would look at solving waste management in the country. How we spoke before, that I have a passion for recycling and the environment.
Right.
And doing it in a healthy, sustainable manner. The way we see landfills across the world, and the way we see any seepage or even breakage in the membrane that leads to a spill of methane or some chemical
Right.
into the river. That river may get into someone's drinking water. And if that person drinks it, they can possibly sue the company for billions of dollars and drive them bankrupt.
Oh, wow.
This concept in India does not exist.
Yeah.
How many companies are doing this and spoiling the lives of others?
Millions of people.
We have no way to track it, no way to analyze it. There's no data behind it.
So what type of venture would this be then? What would the solution look like for you?
I would look at ideally revamping the way landfills are modeled and used in the country. Here we don't have a landfill, we just have a dump yard.
Yeah.
And what happens to the gas that gets formed in the dump yard? Does it go into the earth? Does it percolate somewhere? Where does it go to eventually?
Yeah. And you think that would be feasible from a financial perspective? Why aren't people doing that then?
Right now, trash is governed by local goons.
Yeah.
Trash is not governed by
see.
organized companies.
It's not organized
When
as a sector.
that changes, when large MNCs start investing in how they sort their trash, how they see their trash till the last moment, how we look at Singapore's known to burn their trash
Yeah.
on a separate island, that also, and then take it to the bottom of the ocean and leave it there.
Yeah.
That mechanism, that model for our country would be like a dream or passion. While I obviously don't know if that makes business sense, but if it makes business sense abroad, there will be one time when
Of
it
course.
makes business sense in India.
Yeah.
There are large MNCs who manufacture these membranes. There are large MNCs who in fact come on board to solve a landfill and make a cricket stadium or a international music concert on the landfill.
Oh, wow.
We don't realize what has been done
I think
internationally.
it's just a mental block. Maybe there is a financial block today, but in Hindi they say तैरने वाला ही डूबता है. So you have to do it to find out what works. And if it doesn't become financially feasible, maybe we can do it as part of Dosti's Trash Se Dosti campaign eventually. But Anuj, it's been a pleasure. This has been like a learning session for me, and I appreciate you joining us on the show. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your time as well, and it's been great to speak and interact with you and get to know you as well a bit more personally.
Likewise. Thank you so much for joining the NJ show. I hope you liked what we shared. If you have any feedback, please let me know. Whether you like, share, or subscribe, doesn't matter. What matters is that you got something away from this conversation. Thank you.